Good afternoon, everybody. DJ Styles here, Custom Corpses. Okay, here we go. We are getting ready to stone coat this. Oh, and I need my, forgot, I need a couple brushes. So just grab two now chip brushes that I'm going to use. Leave one packaged. Where's that trash can? This one's no good because I've got Vaseline. Okay, so, all right. Get all these fibers out of here. Trash. Okay, so I'll explain as I go along. This is pole release. 2300. This is a release agent that I sprayed the whole head down, and I Vaselined the top of the spindle. There it is. This is spin around thing. So it's been released. I've got the stone saturating, and I'm getting ready to mix it by hand, and we're going to start applying the stone. Okay, we got that ready, and now I'm going to mix this up by hand. Now the water's a little bit warm, but that's going to make it kick faster. It's going to make it harden up faster, which is good. Just put it, the colder the water, the more the stone will. And I'm mixing it up real good. The first coat is just a real, it's a detail coat. You want to grab all your details so that the coat's pretty thin. I don't feel any clumps in there. That's good. Now I've got my clean bucket and my dirty bucket outside on the back porch. And I just got to go rinse right off this side door. I just have to go out there and rinse my hand off, because I don't want this tracking all over the, because I'm doing this inside the house instead of outside because it's too hot. It's too warm outside for stoning. And I definitely don't do stone on my patio no more, so. And the sun's hitting directly on me out here, where before I used to be on that wooden porch, and I was able to do the stone right on the wooden porch because the stone wouldn't really stick to that. I was able to really get the, all right, so we're gonna get into the detail real good. This is Ultra Cal 30. Now I did a spray release on this. We don't want any bubbles. Right now, I'm just trying to get it all up into the details. This is the, what do they call it? The beauty coat. They call this the beauty coat. Because it's the beauty part. Now I've got Vaseline on the top of my stand here, so I don't have to worry about it sticking. I can kind of take my time with this. Now what happens here after this is hard, not quite hard, but make sure you get it into that ear hole real good with no air bubbles. No air bubbles. I gotta make sure there's no air bubbles. Yeah, this grabs the beauty, the beautiful part. Now I put a little bit of clay up underneath of the ring of the neck, because now when I go to pour the mask in, or when I go to do the latex into the mold, it'll give me a really nice neckline. I don't want to lose that neckline. And as this thickens, we just keep piling it on. You brush on the first coat to make sure there's no air bubbles, nothing up against the side of the face. You want it to grab all that beautiful work. All that beautiful work. And see, first, you see how it's not sticking real good? That's because of the release agent. It'll give you a little bit of a, and then it'll give way. It'll eventually give way on you. As the stone gets thicker, the release agent will no longer be a problem for you when you're. Now this is important. Make sure all that detail is really captured right here. No air bubbles. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting it up into it, and then I'm going to really jab it in there. And you just keep working the material. But this stuff's going to kick fast. Once it starts kicking, I got to really pile it on. Now I put 16 ounces of water. You guys never seen me mix clay before, or mix plaster before. Never add water to plaster. Always plaster to water, just in case you don't know it. So when you mix it, you got to make sure notice I'm jabbing into the neck underneath of here, because I want to make sure that stone's up underneath of this neck real good. Now, I don't really feel the need, because this is a one-piece mold now, I don't really feel the need to actually put burlap into this. I can just leave this as stone, and I'll be fine. I won't have to make a fabric. I don't have to add fabric to it. You'll see this start to kick. Now, Once it starts to harden, it'll really start grabbing. And stiffen up once it stiffens up. But this is the nice thing about doing a one-piece mold. Once this is hard, I'll be able to I see spots where the clay still tries to keep revealing itself, and I'm trying to make sure that that disappears. We don't want any clay coming through. Now that I've got the beauty coat on, now I'm going to start putting thicker. I'm going to start putting thicker, like on top of the head, where like the clay. I keep calling it clay. I'm sorry, stone. The stone is still very watery, so it'll run. So I'm putting it in areas where it's not going to run real bad right yet. And we want the stone to be at least about 1.5 inches thick. Underneath the chin is always the problem. Biggest problem area right there underneath the chin, because you don't want any exposed clay under there. Just waiting for this to start getting thick. Don't have to be pretty, just has to be thick. it's not as runny now. It's starting to thicken up a little bit. Just a little. You can't put it on too heavy. Put it on too heavy, it'll all slope on you. It'll all slope, start running down on you. So just focus on making sure that you got all the clay covered until it starts really thickening up. You don't want to see any clay peeking through at all. I still see a little bit of clay peeking through right there. I see it up top on the head a little bit. Ultra Cal 30, good stuff, man. And the nice thing about Ultra Cal 30, it's a little better than everybody else, is that you can layer this stuff. So, the other thing is make sure that you're scraping from the bottom of your bucket. Make sure you're cleaning the walls down a little bit. Make sure you don't let it harden, because it can harden down on the bottom of the bucket first. And you don't want that to happen. Now, I see these little bubbles and stuff. You definitely want to make sure that you smooth them out. Really go over this whole thing really good, because you want to make sure that you don't have any of that clay showing through. Because if you don't get the beauty coat right, what you'll end up with is like holes in, you know, the surface of your sculpture, or your mold will be awful. So you got to make sure that the surface is really covered well. I still got to do up in here real good. Make sure you pop the bubbles. Any air pockets can really cause problems for you later. What I'm trying to focus on right now is making sure I don't see any clay. I don't care about this. Well, as this stuff thickens, I'll stick that up inside the corners. But right now, I'm just trying to grab all the detail. And no air pockets. Make sure you got no air pockets. See, I see some clay came out of there. Some clay popped through there. I can see it. Now, I'm really touching this really light because I don't want to pull the plaster off. I want to keep the plaster stuck to the face. Now the next coat will stick right to this really good, so you won't have to worry about, you know, the clay constantly being revealed. Once you have this covered, you're safe then. Yeah, it's stiffening up. I can feel it now. Yeah, see, it's not even, see how it's lumping up on here? It's not. Now we can get in behind the ears. Start filling that in. Damn it. I put too much weight on that. That's what that was. You gotta still go a little easier. It's not. It's sloping, but it's slumping, but it's not. It's not firm enough to where it'll hold its own weight. Now we're going to start working on the base and keep an eye out for clay. We're going to start working the base and bringing up the clay. I want to work around the base and make sure I got a nice bead around of clay. Or plaster. I keep saying clay. Sorry. Plaster. Make sure I got a nice bead of plaster all the way around the base. Keep working it and working it. And I see a little clay coming through there. I got to get that covered. Make sure there's nothing behind those ears. That's good. Just worried about get that beauty coat on there. No clay revealed. No clay. We don't want to see any clay. Oh yeah, that's firming up now. The stuff, once it starts to kick, it's going to kick fast. Save a little bit of this thick when it gets really thick. When this stuff gets really thick inside the bucket, I'm going to save a little bit for the underneath the chin. And I'll show you what I mean. So it's starting to get really thick. See it? I'm trying to scrape that bottom real good. I have to get my hands in there and dig it out. There you go. There we go. don't care that it slumps there. I just got to make sure I have nothing revealed underneath this chin. Oh yeah, now it's like Play-Doh. Not quite. Damn it. Okay, so this is firming up too much to do anything with. I'm going to rinse the bucket out, clean my hands, and get ready for the next batch. Let me do that and then I'll shut the video off. Let me clean my hands real quick. I don't like to make much more than 16 ounces at a time. This is already kind of firming up. You know, I can make the batch and start layering the next batch right away. I don't have to wait any time. So we're going to keep moving. And we're going to keep moving. Whatever you do, don't breathe this stuff in. Your lungs will turn to concrete if it does. Now I'm sifting plaster into the water. And I want to get it to the point where I've created islands. I'm still using my old plaster that I had. Almost empty. I emptied the very bottom of one bucket of plaster, and now I'm almost empty the bottom of the other plaster. Now this one I'm going to make a little bit thicker, but I still got to make sure it saturates. Good enough. I gotta let that saturate. I'm gonna go clean my hands real quick because I can't touch anything else when I got this plaster all over my hands. It takes me a second. Okay, it's saturating. Now what's cool about this is by doing the way I'm doing it, I don't know if you guys can see into that bucket, but you'll get that lake bed effect when you start seeing all the plaster go from white to gray, and then you see all the little tiny cracks like it's a lake bed. Then you know your plaster's ready to mix by hand. You mix it, and by the time I mix that up, this will be ready for the second coat. This is firming up really quick because it's fairly warm water. I filled my clean bucket water up, and it was sitting outside in the sun for probably 2 or 3 hours before I got around to making this. Now this stuff, when it kicks, it gets warm. And this is already getting cold here. Wow. It's kicked already. So. Almost. I'm just kind of moving this plaster around a little bit so it don't have to be perfectly saturated, because as long as you don't have clumps. Okay, that's perfect. We can start mixing this now. This should be enough right here. This batch right here should be enough to finish off this mold. I'm not going to add burlap to it because it's a one-piece mold. There's no kind of really that much of a need for it. If it was a two-piece where I had to separate it, then I would probably make it two. I would throw burlap in it for strengthening, but I'll get probably 20. Now, you don't want to drop it, that's for sure. Once again, I'll be brushing it on until it thickens up, and then I start doing the other things to it. Now I got to clean my hand again because I can't touch nothing without destroying it. Oh yeah. Come on, Ford. Okay, let's get back to work. While it's nice and thin, there's a little dark spot right in there. I'll make sure there's nothing, no air pockets sticking behind that. Make sure that the plaster gets down inside of that real good. And make sure that there's nothing. And now we don't have to worry about clay being exposed because we've filled that all in. Now it's just piling on plaster to thicken the mold, to thicken it. What the mold actually does is it absorbs the moisture out of the plaster, out of the latex, I'm sorry. Boy, I'm just tripping all over my words today. I don't know. I've been out in the sun a lot, and I had to cut grass today. I've already done a lot of work here at the house. So I've been working all day on top of doing stuff. I've been sculpting. I've been working. I've been doing all kinds of stuff, guys. Get out of here, fly. You're going to become part of the soup over here. You better get while the getting's good. Because I will kill you in a heartbeat. I hate flies. I can't stand them. But it's summertime. And they're a nuisance, just like mosquitoes. I made this batch a little thicker. I'm going to go a little closer. Yeah, we made this batch a little bit thicker. We want this about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. So the molds are pretty heavy. But I don't mind if it runs down now, because now it just runs down and thickens up the base. See, what you have to do is, once this thing is hard, then what I have to do is take the heat gun and melt the clay to where it's nice and soft, like I do in the microwave, where I can really make it mushy, and then pull the clay out of the mold. Trying to do is make the face so it's just one big flat surface from here all the way up. Pretty cool, huh? This is the mask making business. I gotta fill that little cavity in here. It's gotta be thicker. You get better at this as time goes on, because you can kind of judge how thick you've gotten it just by the way you've, I don't know, it's hard to explain. And trust me, you want one of these things to do this kind of thing. One of these, I don't know what the hell you call this thing. It's a Lazy Susan, but it's actually, it's the kind that you use on a pottery spindle or something. I don't know what the heck it's called. I don't know what it's called. But it's doing a good job for me. Ooh, man, I see clay coming through there. What the hell? Better not be a problem with the older stone. I doubt it, because it is hardening. Notice I'm just working kind of around the base. May add one more batch. See some bubbles. See an air pocket there. It'll weaken your mold terribly if you let air pockets get in there. No bubbles. Well, summer's really taking off on us. Before you know it, it'll be fall. Halloween's right around the corner. I think that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this season like I've never looked forward to another season, ever. My health is better. I've got my masks to make for you guys. I'm really excited for this coming Halloween season, this fall. Really excited. Notice I'm kind of keeping it smooth too as I'm doing this. I don't want it real lumpy and clumpy. Boy, this stone, boy, when it gets hard, it is hard. Hard stuff. Ultra Cal 30. It's getting very expensive. But think I'm going to be okay in this with this batch right by itself. Just got to make sure the back of the head is really thick, because this area feels, because of the angle, the way this is kind of pitched in really deep. This one didn't kick as fast, this stone. I wonder why. It is, well, no, I don't know. Just thinking out loud. That's what I do when I work. I think out loud. Not too much left in here. First coat's always the hardest. Whoa, almost dropped the whole bucket on the floor. That would not have been cool. Okay, so we're going to try and get the rest of this and pile it into the back of the neck. real trick is to use all your clay or your plaster. And I used it all. I believe we have a plaster mold. Now I'm going to go wash my hands, let this firm up just a little bit, and then smooth it out, really smooth. Okay, that part's done. Now I'm going to clean up this a little bit. And all I got to do here being extra careful here around the back because I don't want to pull that stuff off the clay. Because of the Vaseline all over the table, the plaster's coming right off the table with no problem. Might make one more small batch. I don't think it's necessary, but I don't like the back of the head too much. The back of the head's where I'm a little worried. And why I'm smoothing this out with my hands while this is still somewhat, it's not wet, it's moist. Make it smooth so it's easy to handle. You don't want to be handling something that's going to be sharp. I'm going to make another batch. I don't want to wait too long. Yep. I'm going to make one more little batch, a small batch. The reason why is I want to get this a little bit thicker right in back here. I don't like the way that looks. Ain't digging it. I really don't need any on the sides or on the face. That's thick enough. I might put a little more on the nose. And that's it. So now I just got to get a little bit of water, clean water out of the bucket. Also remember that, guys. Never do this with your sink, in your sink. Now, there's this big thing that everybody misunderstands. It doesn't matter how much water I put in here. It doesn't matter. You don't want to put too much because you have to add a lot of plaster to fill that water up. But I always try to keep a really low, not a lot of water in the bucket because you got to add a lot of plaster. More water to more plaster. And because we're doing a small batch, I put like maybe half the water that I used on the last one. Probably 1/3 the water that I used on the last one. I'm already hitting islands. Good. That means it's only going to be 2 to 3 scoops. That's it. I'll have just enough to do this batch. Perfect. Just enough to do this batch here. And I'm making this really thick, this batch. Yeah, that's plenty of plaster there. I'm going to let that saturate for just a few minutes. because I know that's not going to completely saturate. I'll have to mix that anyway, no matter what I do. I'm making it extra thick so I can pile it up on the back of the neck. And around the base. And around the base. Oh yeah. And around the base. You know, you're seeing this in real time, so there's no fakery. Because people ask all the time, well, how long do you wait in between batches? Well, you see it in regular time here, so you don't even have to ask that question anymore. I usually shut the camera off, mix the next batch, and kind of layer it a little bit at a time, so I can still feel it. It's hot, so I want it to be a little cooler this time. And the nice thing about this stuff, as long as I don't start mixing it, it won't kick right away. I mean, it will if I wait too long. But I think we're going to be good. All right. Yeah, this is going to be a nice thick batch for me. I almost want it like peanut butter. I want it to stick to a vertical wall. See how thick that is? See, I'm pretty used to doing this, so I kind of really have a good feel of how much I have to add to get the consistency that I want. And that's just going to be anybody that's doing this. It's just going to take time for you guys. You can't just learn this overnight. It doesn't happen. You can watch me all you want, but without getting your hands dirty and really getting into learning how to use this stuff, all right, so see that? It's sticking to that vertical wall real good, and I'm going around the whole base of this thing. Especially the back of the head, that's where I really want this resolved. The rest is going right there. So I had plenty of time before it really kicks. So if I want to move the material around a little bit, I can. What the hell is that? Piece of cloth. That's weird. in here. Okay. Every little bit of it. I'm going to fill this little hole right here. Come on, man. I'm being extra freaky neat with this, that's all. Now once this hardens or firms up a little more, I'll be able to yep, once it firms up a little bit, we got ourselves a. And now what I'll do is, as this firms up, you know how I smooth this out here? Only this time I'll have my hands a little bit moist, wet, to smooth it out so it's real smooth. Time to clean the bucket. Brush, I never use the brush, so I don't need to clean the brush. Use my hands because I made it thick as peanut butter. My rubber mallet, because I want to hammer out the bottom. I dumped that bucket of dirty water, which has the what do you call it in it? The crappy leftover ultra cow. Okay, cleaned out that. Now my hands are a little moist. We just don't want any sharp. Anything sharp when you're handling this, because these are heavy, they're not light. Okay, now clean my hands. Yeah, I gotta use the clean bucket. I have a clean bucket bucket out there, but that's okay. I'm gonna dump that as well. All right, there we go. That's done. These are my clean buckets. That's an empty. That's foam, we don't want that. And I've still got a little bit of plaster in here that I could dump into another bucket. Put my rubber ham out. Yeah, I gotta hammer away at that and put this stuff away. I'm not going to bury that back there. But what I am going to do, put that there. I'm going to put my new stuff right in here. Let me have that handle. My back is killing me today, man. I already did too much work as it is, and now I'm lifting 100-pound buckets of clay or plaster. There's one, and that's empty. That's empty. This is full. That's a full one. Sore. Okay, that's one down on the bottom, I believe. That's foam, that's nothing to do with that. Yeah, this is all my good stuff. So, this is all the new stuff right here. This is the old over here. I have a whole stack of old right in front of me that I'll use before I use the new stuff. Actually, what am I doing? They're my clean buckets. This is an empty. This is an empty. And this is almost empty. And these are my water buckets. Put them up there like that. Now the next plaster job I do, I gotta empty this one out first, and then I'll go down to the bottom one. Then I'll work my way over to the other side. So, that being said, let's spatula off the surface here. Get it cleaned up. I do not like working in a messy area. I'm forced to because of how small the studio is. And you don't know how hard it is to try and keep this clean enough to where I'm really working efficiently. Very difficult because I have so many things going on in this room. Not just sculpting. All right. So that's kicking. That's good, that's good. Everything's good here. I want to clean the spatula off. I got the hose out there. I don't have the buckets anymore. I got the hose. Yeah, I definitely don't want that stuff stuck to my spatula. So, part 2 of this will be demolding. Hold on. Whew. An hour and 32 minutes. That's how long it took to stone this. An hour and 32 minutes. Yeah, there's enough on the nose. I'm not worried about that. And yeah, it's we're cleaned up pretty good. And got the buckets where they need to be again. I got plenty of plaster on the back of the head now because I was a little concerned with that. That wasn't a cool thing. Now I can wipe this down even more so it's even smoother, but I'm not going to waste my time. It doesn't matter. As long as there's no sharp edge, I'm good. Okay, so the part 2 of this will be demolding this. And what I'll be doing is I'll be taking it off the Lazy Susan, flipping it over. All right, and then taking a heat gun right there, the heat gun right there. I'll take that heat gun and I'll warm up the clay on the inside and then peel that clay out of there. And then we will have a perfect mold to make a latex mask in. And the latex I think I'm going to pour up tomorrow. I got to let this harden up real good. I don't want this to be, this has got to be hard. So I'm going to make sure that it's hardened up overnight, and then I'll melt the clay, pull it out, and pour up a latex mask. And from there, we will do a foam fill to that latex, and I'll be using the variable density foam right here. And that's a real soft density. It's real soft. So when the mask is full, let's say that's the mask. If that was the mask, it's full of foam. It's firm, but yet I can squeeze the mask and pull it out of the stone mold when I make the smaller version. But that's how you do it, and this is what we're doing, and this is how we're moving along here, guys. Thanks for the subscriptions and all the likes. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next video. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. They love subscribers, and they definitely love likes. I don't know what it is about likes, but boy, YouTube loves likes. So I thank you again, and I know this is a long tutorial, or I don't even know what you call it, lesson. I don't know what you want to call this. So whatever it is to you, it is. So peace, everybody, and I'll see you on the next video. Over and out, Custom Corpses, DJ Styles. Bye.